Welcome to Big Bad Beautiful Brains. I'm James. Since I was diagnosed at the age of 45 with autism and ADHD, I've been on a journey not only to discover how my brain works and how to look after myself, but also about other people's brains and how they look after theirs. This episode, I'm speaking with Andrew Laws. Andrew is a self-confessed tech nerd, author, musician, and skater who has been running an SEO agency for more than 25 years. He is also a host of the Business Amplifier podcast, where he shares jargon-free, practical advice to help business owners get unstuck and grow. Away from the world of marketing, Andrew is an active musician with a stack of recorded albums. Andrew, welcome to episode 1 of Big Bad Beautiful Brains.
Hello, James. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm fine. It's the end of, as we're recording this, it's the end of the school holidays, so free childcare's come back in, and I'm sort of emerged blinking into the light of having some time to get stuff done.
I'm reminded by one thing. I went to a hypnotherapist once, and a hypnotherapist said to me, what are you going to do when you've got all of this free time? And kind of getting rid of my anxiety and dealing with that. And I kind of feel like that post-school holidays of kind of like, oh, there's I can get things done. This is amazing. Love spending time with the kids, but I got work to do sometimes.
Yeah, no, I usually quite like work as well. I mean, it's like you. I've worked for myself for so long. I have to sort of be quite mindful of whether I'm working too much. Because I could just, if I'm into something, I'm lock in, and the world kind of fades away and becomes, and I just like this tunnel thing. And it's a lovely thing. It's a really nice feeling until, like, my child taps him on the shoulder and goes, I've aged 4 years since you started this project or something.
It's like the scene from Interstellar where he suddenly kind of...
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to put my fingers in my ears. I can't. Okay. I'm wearing headphones.
I'll say nothing more. Yeah, jabbing plastic. So talking of kind of movies and that sort of thing, what's a song or sound that's been stuck in your head recently?
Oh, there's so many. There's always something playing. It's like a jukebox up there. I find that not everybody's like that. But there's always something. So I'd have to tell you right now, it's Sunday Afternoon by The Small Faces.
Nice.
It was on the radio a little while ago, but it's one of those songs that some things just get stuck in there, and I end up having to sort of exorcise them by just go, okay, I will sit down and I will give you the attention now. I will listen to you fully. But it's usually metal, if I'm honest. It's usually like a little riff or something, just going round and round.
For me, it's kind of, it can be things that I can either want in my head, or some things will just invade my head. So there can be a certain sound that I will hear, and that will be the sound stuck in my head, and I will have to kind of say it out loud to let it out, to kind of let a bit of steam out of my head. And it can be the most innocuous, annoying sound in the world, but I'm going to drag everyone down with me. So
not songs, just actually like sounds.
Yeah, it can sometimes be sounds. It can sometimes be like the noise that a bus makes when the air brakes kick in.
So to exercise it, you like that lad from Police Academy, the one with the sound effects,
without all the kind of delays and echoes and distortion. I'm just kind of there's a word for it. I can't remember what it is, but it's one of the things, and I think my whole family is very similar. Is that sometimes there's a sound or a saying or a catchphrase. Jet 2 holidays was a big one. For my youngest. And it's just one of those things. It can sometimes be a song, sometimes be a sound. It can be from anywhere, but it can kind of overtake.
If you ever tried to catalogue them or sample them?
No, I think that would be a slippery slope to madness.
I do a lot of field recordings. I just use my phone now because it's just as good as the fancy digital recorders I had. But yesterday there was where I'm sitting, there's a factory the other side of the door, like electronics factory. And there was something that I had to go and record. I'm going to play it to you if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's a machine, but you try listening to this while you're working without tapping your foot. Look.
Yeah, that's
I had to go record it because then I can put it in a little compartment in my brain and just leave it for another time.
you could loop it and make a track out of it.
Oh, there's going to be some banging techno based on that at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
That no one will listen to, including me.
Okay, so what's something you've been curious about lately?
Oh, man. Everything. It's a little overwhelming sometimes, but I like learning. I figured out years ago that learning on my own terms, of course, not necessarily things I should be learning or have to learn. At the moment, I'm getting into writing again. So what I've really enjoyed learning about is writing business books that aren't terrible. So I've written fiction a bunch of times in the past, and I enjoyed the process of learning how to write novels. But now it's that creation thing, learning how to create something, which is still really magical to me, whether it's music, writing, anything. Just creating a thing that doesn't currently exist in the universe but will do once I've made it. I think that drives quite a lot of my learning.
Curiosity and learning kind of go hand in hand, I think. I think for me, curiosity is one of the things that is something that the machine learning and AI will never be able to do. They'll be able to synthesize it, and they kind of do with follow-up questions with ChatGPT and things like that. But human curiosity is something that you can't bottle. And I think it's like super precious because it is a gateway to kind of learning more and understanding more. And I think just being kind of more accepting about, how different things work and why different things work, and whether that's kind of a human level or a technological level. I think curiosity is this kind of hugely important thing which would define us from machines farting out synthesized information.
The machines have predictable output. That's how they work, and AI doesn't currently think, and it just processes things, and it can only arrive really at a place that humanity's arrived at before, because all it can do is learn from things that already exist. God, bloody hell, that was like hard work getting that sentence out, but hopefully it made sense. Whereas humans, we're pretty erratic. Some of us more than others.
Yeah, I think it's kind of chaos. It's the chaos and curiosity is those things that kind of, the desire to understand things. And you can kind of, when you're a child, you can kind of have curiosity kind of encouraged out of you, of kind of don't ask questions, don't upset the status quo, don't shake things up. But I think for me is kind of, asking why, I think, is just one of those really, really important things.
I had, I know, sorry to mention somebody that the listeners might not know, but a mutual friend of ours, Helen Oldfield. So she's a PR amazing person. I had a really funny conversation with her a couple of days ago where we were talking about school experience, and it turns out we were both in quite a lot of trouble. We both spent quite a lot of time in the headmaster's office, and we realised for both of us it's because we asked why a lot of the time. So a teacher would tell the class what to do or ask the class to perform whatever school thing. I can remember looking around and everyone would be beavering away, and I'd be sitting there going, what are they doing? What did I not hear? And so I'd just say, why are we doing this? And for a lot of teachers, it was headmaster's office, and I'd literally be walking there going, I don't understand what's happened here. What have I done?
What the hell just happened? And I'm exactly the same. And I think it's one of the things of, I was classed as a disruptive student, not because of my grades, but because of my curiosity. And it's kind of like, this is the way it is. And stop asking questions. And I think it is hugely important, particularly with people with kind of neurodiverse leaning brains, is to understand why. And if you can understand why, then everything else kind of falls into place. But if you don't have the why there, then it's very, very difficult to kind of take people on that journey.
It is, and sometimes I have to accept there just isn't a why, and there isn't a path. So I have a business coach who I've worked with for a long time, and I said to him yesterday, I said, if you could just draw a diagram of what we're talking about, or what the concept is, so that I can see the seed of it, the branches of it, and where it's going to arrive, then I'll be able to latch onto it and I'll be fully on board. But without that, I just can't. And running a business is the classic thing. I mean, there is no formula to follow. Enough people will try and sell you a formula, but they don't exist. And that I find that really difficult, but also kind of cool as well.
Yeah, and I think it is and sometimes it is kind of communicating there is no why. That's why we're here. That's what we've got to find out. But again, that's the why of the why.
So Simon Sinek's wrong. So the author Simon Sinek wrote a book called Everything Starts With Why. And it doesn't always.
No, I guess it doesn't. And I think sometimes that's where curiosity takes over, is finding out the why.
The word curiosity, I think, is really cool. So pop culture reference. Have you seen Ted Lasso?
Oh, yes. Big fan.
Oh, yeah. So I think second to The Simpsons is probably the best TV ever made. And there's a bit in that where he's talking about being angry with people, or if people are angry with you. And he says, look at them. Look at it through the lens of curiosity. And I was like, wow, one of the many Ted Lasso kind of life lessons there.
That's nice. That's nice.
You're running at me with a baseball bat, but I'm curious as to... No, I think in some circumstances you probably do just need to... If there's a zombie apocalypse. Why? I mean, I'm curious.
Why is this happening?
Why do you want my brains? I'm not sure I want my brains sometimes, but why is that?
So talking of brains, if you had to describe how your brain works in 3 words, what words would they be and why?
Ball bearings in a can. Is that more than 3 words?
We'll smoosh them together and get 3 words out of there. So what would lead you to describe ball bearings in a can as being a good description of your brain?
It's for the analogy to work, if the ball bearings are thoughts and the can is my brain and someone's shaking it, that I think largely is how it is a lot of the time. And it's kind of fun. It can present challenges. Say at school, it certainly did. Teacher would ask me a question about the rainfall in Brazil or something in geography, and I'd ask them, "Why did you want to be a teacher?" that will get you straight to the headmaster's office. Really will. I knew that room very well. I think that's it. I mean, I'm not. I hope I'm not a nightmare for the people I live with, my family and my friends and people I work with. But there is that chaos element is quite strong, and part of growing up and learning about myself has been to kind of go, that's all right, as long as I still can remember how to tie my shoelaces, and as long as I don't accidentally start fires in places. Not that shoelaces and fires are like the 2 most important things, but
there's a connection there somewhere.
There's an example of the ball bearings, because why on earth did I say shoelaces? I haven't tied shoelaces for a long time. I've got those weird boots with I was about to show you then. I'm not limber enough to kind of like get my foot behind my head anymore.
Embrace the chaos, I think, is a really kind of valid thing. And I me personally spent a long time trying to normalize it and kind of be a model citizen, whatever that means, to a certain extent, of kind of to bottle the chaos up and not let it come out because you don't want to appear weird. But sometimes you just have to kind of go with it and use it, because it can be a really powerful thing. It can look completely disorganized and all over the place to everybody else, but go with what works and kind of, use it however you see fit.
I agree entirely, and that's why I mean I don't want to confuse chaos with sort of inoperability, not being able to do things, because I certainly can. I've run a business, probably not well, but I've run a business for 25 years, and you can't do that if you don't have the ability to at least function as a normal person. I don't like that phrase. I think the truth is, irregardless of neurodiversity or anything like that, I don't think anyone really does have their stuff together.
No, yeah, I think it's with kind of processing with me. I was chatting to somebody the other day, and what fell out of my head to try and describe how I work is rigid flexibility. Where there's one part of my brain that needs routine and it needs familiarity and it needs those things in place, but there's another part of my brain which is very happy to just kind of run free and go off and do what it wants, and allowing myself to have those spaces within all of the kind of organization that my brain likes is the perfect setting. And I think that's kind of embracing the chaos in bite-sized chunks.
So do you have a way of giving yourself, like setting aside time for kind of, free thought, or for allowing that chaos, or do you just sort of note that you've not done it for a while and make time?
I literally kind of let that side of my brain take over. So I have a routine. I know when I need to be places. I know I have a day book where I write stuff down that I need to do. And then anything that's between those gaps, which kinds of acts like chaos glue, is when I just let my brain go off and do something and do what it wants to do. And that could be tinkering with technology, or it could be coming up with an idea for something, or it could be problem solving something that was already a scheduled task that just needs a little bit more creative thought. But I have to have that kind of awkward flexibility in what I'm doing, so I can kind of lean into curiosity and lean into kind of playing with things. That gives me the space to kind of give both parts of my brain what they need.
That's amazing, and I can identify that in that wholly. I mean, I think, I don't want to keep talking about school, but I think that's probably what the daydreaming and staring out of windows is. And I do make time for it. I don't schedule it. I sometimes wonder if I should. But there are times like, today, we're recording this on a Friday. Friday afternoons, I will not book a meeting in unless something catastrophic will happen if I don't, because I have to have Friday afternoons to pursue the creative stuff around work, the playing with things. It's playtime.
Yeah, I do exactly the same.
It has to be that.
Yeah, and no meetings for me on Fridays. I don't do Mondays either, and I use Fridays and Mondays as kind of transition days, because I can't kind of work right up until the weekend, because I need time to kind of transition into weekend mode and family mode, and otherwise it feels like a hard stop and I'm going to get dysregulated by it. So Mondays and Fridays, I kind of use some of that as playtime and to do other things and to chat to people and go and get stuff done. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're kind of getting work done days and getting my head down. But one of the things I kind of learned over the years post my diagnosis of ADHD and autism was that I need to transition. I can't kind of butt up against things, because my brain needs to kind of relax and then tense up again.
I'm coming to a similar realization myself. It's interesting. I quite often don't realize these things until I hear other people talking about them. I don't actively investigate the way my brain works, and I think that's possibly a mistake. I probably should have had more curiosity around that many, many years ago. But it's also, I think the older I get as well, I've just not got the fire to work all the time. Or I can't. I get migraine. My body just goes, nope, you've done enough, and that's it. I have to lay down, and I kind of can't see straight, and I'm not going to describe all the symptoms of a migraine. And one of the biggest struggles I've had with that, my whole working life, is that's very counter to what I perceive as the work ethic that I think I see in other people. I did briefly have a 9-to-5 job, which was 8 to 5, which I found really brutal, and I didn't last very long. It was not long before I nearly got fired, because I can't do it. I can't be productive at prescribed times. So I still have like a weird guilt that if I stop and play a computer game or something for a few minutes, or have an afternoon nap, I've got a settee in my office here. There's my napping settee. But I'll feel bad about it, which I really wish I didn't, because I run my own company. I can work when I want. There is no one. But where does that get installed? Is that school again, do you think?
Yeah, I think it probably comes from school. I mean, school does a lot to prepare you for society in general, as kind of, routine and all flowing in the same direction and all wearing the same uniform and getting into the mindset of kind of being a citizen to a certain extent. And my brain didn't like that at all.
No.
I was on the periphery of that in my weird little group of friends who wore secondhand East German army clothing and didn't want to take part. But you will get kind of punished for that in some way, shape, or form, which is kind of unfortunate for what turns out was in my part was a neurodivergent brain. But it's it's is it indoctrination? I don't know, maybe.
I read an opinion that schools, as we know now, were largely built by Victorian industrialists, and what was seen at the time as being quite an altruistic thing. And it kind of is, everyone should have the opportunity to learn, but it was to condition people to be ready to work at a factory.
Yeah, and a really good example, modern example, is kind of American mining towns, which would have their own currency, and the company that owned the mine also owned the grocery store, and your credits were good there, but nowhere else.
Yeah.
It's a very good kind of zoomed in level of what sometimes the education system and the workplace system is geared up to be.
So here's a question for you. Sorry, I know you're the host and I'm the guest, but I sometimes think, would I still work? Would I still run a company if I didn't need to financially? And I'll reveal my answer in a bit, but do you think if you didn't have to earn money, whether that's because money doesn't exist, or if you came into an inheritance or won the lottery or whatever, would you still, how similar would your working day look to how it is now?
I think it would be fairly similar. I think if I didn't have an outlet for my curiosity or my need to problem solve, or sometimes in a more negative ways, intellectualize something that probably doesn't need intellectualizing. If I was just kind of milling around, it would look very similar to the gifs of Pablo Escobar from Narcos. I've just sat very sadly on a chair swing in the garden.
Is that what that's from? I've never known where that means.
Yeah, and kind of being generally directionless. And I think you sometimes need external inputs to find direction and purpose. And I think if the need for that fell away, I'd still want to try and find some kind of vessel to kind of put that into. What form that would take, I don't know. But I think it is kind of one of the interesting things that, if you had to do nothing, what would you do?
I can't do nothing.
Yeah.
My wife and I have not had a holiday longer than 4 or 5 days since, well, certainly this century. And some of our friends find that bizarre. They find it absolutely wild, but I can't really do sitting around. I can do it for about a day and a half. So of doing nothing much at all, but I'll still be reading a book, or still be reading a newspaper, or still doing something. I'm not just sat there in a meditative state. And my wife and I have realized after years and years, it's because we'd like to believe that we have created, she works for herself as well, we'd like to believe that we've created a work life that we're not always desperate to escape from. So it's not like, oh, thank God it's holiday. Oh, I haven't got to do that. And it's not, I'm dreading going back to work. We kind of like it. Actually, she can't take a lot of time off. She's a gardener, and all her plants would die. That's why it's fine. That's one of the reasons we don't go away for very long. But I left school. It was fairly dramatic, me leaving school. Or it seemed it at the time, and less so now. Because I was in all the top sets for everything. And every school report was, if Andrew just applied himself.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, you hear that a lot from other people who think in a similar way to how we do. And then I also had an IQ test. I've never mentioned this on a podcast, but I had an IQ test at quite a young age and found out what my IQ is. Has IQ been debunked yet?
It's bordering on.
Good. I'm pleased. So I thought, well, this revision's for normal people. I don't need to revise. So I got no GCSEs, nothing above. I think I might have got a D in something, but the rest were like, they were nothing. And I can remember being really surprised, kind of like going to the school, because we're old enough that we had to go to school to pick up the piece of paper with your results on, and just going, I don't understand. I got nothing. And that was such a tipping point in my life that I think I had a couple of years of just kind of going, what, like reeling from it, like, what happened? I think about things a lot. Why did I get no GCSEs? I mean, none of them would have got me anywhere. I have got some now. I did go to evening classes at the college for a couple of years and got me some GCSEs, which again I've not used for anything at all.
So speaking of kind of figuring things out and coming from one place in your life to another, what's something about everyday life that's easy for you and hard for others, or the other way around, difficult for others but you find fairly easy?
It's probably curiosity, if I'm honest. It's going to sound corny, but finding joy in things, just looking for joy, and I'm not always like that. And to a certain extent in my adult life, I've purposefully developed this as a skill. That and cheerleading, probably. I love to see people doing well. That's I get a real kick out of it, and that comes very, very naturally to me. Things that other people might not find so easy, but I find very easy. Being irreverent, probably. Being slightly obtuse sometimes. It comes very naturally. It's a very easy thing for me to wander down the aisle of whimsy.
Yeah, and I think I think that again falls into a similar kind of mindset of that's built around curiosity, is to just kind of sometimes let things happen, and not in a kind of nihilist approach to stuff, but more of a kind of I'm going to be fairly relaxed about what information kind of comes my way, and then if something kind of grabs my attention, then I'll really kind of hook into it and take a deep dive on it. But I think if you have too much of a rigid thought process and not allow space for that sort of thing to happen, you can get fairly closed off, or fairly kind of stagnant in how you want your brain to work, and the joy and the play that you can find around it.
I've spent my whole life trying to figure out unconsciously at first. Now it's a much more conscious thing of trying to figure out how to take that and make it something that will make me money so that I can buy food for my family. And I'm still not there, still not done it. And sometimes I get quite curious about really large companies like Google, or usually tech companies. They have a thing where you go speak to them. One of my freelancers at the moment, he's on his 6th interview for a new job. 6th. But you go and they figure you out. They do psychometric testing and all that. And then they go, right, we're going to put you in a job that suits you perfectly in a way that will make you happy and make you productive. And sometimes think, God, can I just do that? Can I just do that bit? Can I just do the testing? I've done psychometric testing. The psychometric testing I did at high school told me to be a plasterer, which would not have worked for many, many other reasons. And then the last psychometric testing I did was probably 20 years ago. I worked with a HR consultancy, not the one that you and I collaborated on, a different one. And I did it, and it came up saying I don't like people. And I was like, I'm 100% sure that's incorrect. So yeah, I think I want like a good psychometric testing. I've done like grid radius and all those kind of things, and kind of going, yeah, that makes sense. I'm sympathetic and encouraging rather than accurate.
So have you found any approaches with kind of, leaning into the way that you think and the way that you navigate the world? Have you found any approaches that make it easier for you?
Transparency. And again, it probably makes my life difficult more than makes it easy. But I had to have a very difficult conversation with a client yesterday because I've just not managed to get done what I should have got done. And that still fills me with panic to a certain extent. But I've learned to just be honest and set expectations and say, look, I will do my absolute best I can for you as my client. But my focus might be elsewhere sometimes. But it's never going to wander that far. So I had the meeting with the client. I said, look, I've just got to be honest. It hasn't happened. And it's not because I don't love you. It's I wish I could tell you.
But, do you think, I think that leans to sometimes that if you can catastrophize about a situation, you kind of think, maybe the imposter syndrome comes in, and you kind of worry about what the response of that client or the person you're working with might be if you bottle it up and keep it inside, rather than bring it out and kind of get it out. The saying, rip the plaster off a little bit, where you just kind of go, hold your hand up, and the honesty and the transparency, you kind of get, you cut off the opportunity of perhaps overthinking or catastrophizing what the result might be because you didn't quite do something that went the right way.
I'm getting better at spotting the people that I don't want to work with. I mean, personal life's much, much easier because we all build these bubbles of comfort around us, and we naturally, have non-work relationships with people that are very easy to get on with. But work-wise, I'm still not found a way when I meet a potential client that I know is going to be, I don't want to say a nightmare. It's not them being a nightmare. It's just we are so incompatible. I am going to craze the out of you. And within 2 months, you're going to be saying, I don't want to work with you. I've not yet found a way, because I'm also a bit of a people pleaser. Everyone is, really. But it sort of comes with the being a cheerleader kind of bit. And I'm just like, this one will be different. This client, I won't end up irritating the shit out of them.
Yeah,
but
I think
it never works.
The people pleasing bit, I think for me, I've learned that, I want to make sure that people I work with get what they're, get good results and they're getting something out of it. I think the difference in people pleasing is when it can slip into actually affecting your own mental health, because you're putting everyone else's needs in front of your own. And I think it's a super healthy way to have, looking after your clients and looking after people that are around you and making sure people are safe and happy and looked after is, absolutely one thing that you should strive for, but it shouldn't be at the detriment of your own mental health.
No, and even in recent months, I found myself in situations where I'm around Peg trying to force myself into a square hole, because I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I want to do amazing things for my clients. But some clients usually ones who come to me and work with me for a project or a short time, I haven't got what they want at all. And I try and give them what I think they want, and it doesn't work. Clients that I work with I've got clients I've worked with for 20 years. Those ones, absolute delight, because one of them comes in here every week, sometimes twice a week, and he can ask me a question. I say, I have no flipping idea whatsoever. I don't know what the answer is, and I'm probably not the right person to do it. You go look over there, and we've worked together so long, they're basically not offended, And those relationships take a long, long time to build. They really do, and I appreciate that, because we deal with business owners a lot, both of our professions. Business owners tend to be driven in a way that I guess not everybody is, and they want to get to the money, they want to get to the point, they want to get to the progress, and it's quite challenging having a brain that doesn't work in a straight line. Because the classic question is, okay, we need an answer to this, or we need this creative input that we come to you for because we're not creative. And I've had clients say, we can't do the creativeness, and I'm not going to mention them because you know them. And I loved that. I loved the fact that client said, look, we come to you because you're creative. But they then say, when will this creativity be complete? Like, don't work that way. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
there's
I wish it did. It'd be
there's
so much
not
easier.
there's not a KPI for creativity.
Can you do me a creativity?
Yeah, can you do a creative?
I'll have 3 units of creativity, please. And I want them by Thursday.
How much does that cost? I don't know. Yeah, and I think it is you if you start kind of understanding how you think better, it's much easier to understand the people that are that want to work with you, who you're going to give the best results for, because they understand not just the process, but perhaps a little bit forewarned about how you think and the journey that you might take them on, as opposed to it being completely transactional. Like, I'd like 3 creative units, please, and please return once you've completed 3 creative units with a rounded off complete answer. It's not that easy sometimes, and I think that the trap is to try and kind of take everyone on that journey, because some people are going to push against it and resist it, and other people are going to kind of embrace it with both arms and take a real interest in that journey. And that's, for me, when kind of project work and client relationship work best, because they're happy to kind of let go and see where it takes them a little bit, rather than measurable results at every step. Sometimes it's immeasurable and it's chaotic, but that's part of the journey, and that's where the interesting bits are for me.
It feels to me like you and I ought to try and find a way of expressing that for people who perhaps don't have brains that don't work the way ours do. And I think everybody must be thinking that. It just comes back to me. I just want everyone to get along. I just want everyone to understand everyone, and people to get it. But I think I try and do this by being myself on business platforms like LinkedIn as much as I can. And it's a real cliche, say, just be yourself. And the stuff I put on LinkedIn is frankly things that would have terrified the 20-year-old me. I don't overshare, but I will. You know me pretty well, James. There is weird stuff I do in my life. I've been making a nonsensical series about Mark Twain on social media for about 5 years.
I do genuinely do a little dance when you release another one, because it's just like, oh, Andrew's doing the Mark Twain thing again. Yay!
I mean, for the listeners, they're like 20 seconds long, all non sequiturs and don't lead anywhere at all.
And just kind of in random places, and just kind of the irreverence shines through.
So I let that stuff out, and I let it out as often as I can, because there's plenty of it. That's if I sit down and try and write, those sort of LinkedIn posts where people go, here's a picture of me on a space hopper, and it made me think, it's a lot like the business world. I'm like, is it? Of course it's not. So I just put up a picture of me pretending to do, or trying to do a skateboard trick, and go, hey, look at this. This is me trying to do a skateboard trick. I haven't got a business lesson, and my knees hurt.
There's so much more honesty in that, and I do enjoy the kind of parody versions of I ran face first into a brick wall, and here's 10 sales tips I learned. And it's kind of like, I think a similar thing with a really good indicator of, particularly on LinkedIn, of people needing to post and having nothing to say, is the kind of action figures AI thing that happened for a while. And it was like, it was quite trite, and you're also giving away a lot of personal information.
I lent into that in my own way, because they all looked the same.
Yeah.
So these are all like action figure in a blister pack, and they were all the same. And I was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and the person giving the talk knows me, and they showed one of the action figures of somebody else I know, and it was the beigeness. It was, I don't know how else to describe it. And then he went, right, and also Andrew Laws is in the room, and he did one as well. And I was thinking, oh man, I did. But then he showed mine, and what I did, I made it as terrible as I possibly could, and made it as unprofessional and dumb. And it was when I was still missing teeth. Well, I still am missing teeth. They're fake. And I was like, oh. And then I still felt bad, because, I did burn a bit of the earth by running that through ChatGPT. But in the same course, I was like, No, you just just do something different. Don't be the feckin' same as everybody else. Just don't, and you're going to really upset some people.
And it is it's the same as the school thing. The algorithm is very similar to kind of putting you through school and preparing you for society and adult life. You have to play by the algorithm's rules if you want to get engagement and likes and whatever that means. And sometimes you have to play the game a little bit. But I think it is the point of interest for me is finding something that ticks the boxes of the algorithm, but also sets you different from what everybody else is doing. And I think a really good, I mean, you're a perfect example of that with doing Mark Twain and some of your skateboarding posts and that sort of thing that go on LinkedIn. I think Dan Callis is who's a mutual friend of ours, is the antithesis of absolute chaos on LinkedIn. And he's probably one of the few reasons why I'm still on LinkedIn, because I wait for Dan to say something and it's always going to be absolutely bonkers, completely off the wall, swear laden, but very interesting
and right
and right
and correct.
Yes,
absolutely correct. That man has made. We do a podcast together called SEO or Die, and the first episode came out, I thought, I'm going to lose every single one of my clients if they hear this episode. And then a bunch of my clients heard it and thought it was hilarious, but couldn't get quite where Dan was coming from. So to give you an idea, dear listeners, he'll put posts on. He has put posts on about, I'm paraphrasing, but I've sat down to write this LinkedIn post, but I have been ripping this bong all morning and I don't know what's going to come. Like, just talking about stuff like that on LinkedIn, I'm like, wow. And he's not a jerk. He's a lovely man. I know him really well. He's a very loving, very gentle person. But if he thinks you're talking crap, he won't tell you you're talking crap. He will give his version of events and then highlight the fact it's very different, and it is very different.
Yeah,
but
and
very entertaining.
He'll come with facts as well.
Oh, yeah,
he won't just kind of, there's certain people on LinkedIn who are always calling for a bullshit button to go alongside found funny or support.
Yeah.
Dan doesn't need one of those. He'll just turn up and correct you it with very good information in a very entertaining way.
And you know what the end result of him being like that is? He works with fantastic companies, big names, who love working with him. He's braver than I am. I'm not sure I could go quite as far. It's not in my personality to be that. He's not abrasive. It's really hard to describe how he does it, but
yeah, it's hard to. It's like trying to catch a fart in your hands. Is you can't kind of. That's a very weird analogy, but that's the first thing that came into my head. Was that it's kind of very difficult to kind of pin down Dan, and that's why he's brilliant. I'm hoping for him to be a future guest, but I did send him a note the other day with the house rules for the podcast that I share, and he said, I'm probably going to break all of those. And I said, it's fine, I'll edit it around you. You just be you and we'll find a way to do it.
Here's the best callous I know. No, you must have family members. I've not met them. They might be better, but he's unique and wonderful for it.
Absolutely. So let's kind of get back to some questions. But what's one thing that always makes you smile?
Cats. Don't probably music more than anything else, but cats. There's a bit of Reddit I stumbled across with my curious mind a few weeks ago, and it's just called blurry photos of cats. And it's just, that's it. It's like medicine. But yeah, no, music, just always music. There's loads. There's not one thing. I'm generally quite a cheerful kind of guy.
I think I'm kind of the other side of the scale on that, is that I'm
you hate cats.
I'm allergic to cats. I love cats,
oh, no.
but I just kind of puff up if I get too near one.
Stop eating them.
It's one way around it. Or maybe eat them, and that will kind of
build up a resistance.
Yeah, exactly. Internal existence for
start with just like, or just like the same way kind of smallpox and whatever inoculations were. Start with a small cat. Just like a really small one, and just carry it in a little bag under your arm, and
now
then
and again just rub it on my face,
just a little bit, and then work your way up to like one of those big ginger toms, that's attacks vacuum cleaners.
Nice.
I derailed you completely then. So I can't even remember what your question was now.
Yeah, just things that bring you joy and make you smile. I think I'm the kind of opposite end. If there's kind of centrist levels of joy, I'm probably kind of on the surlier end of it.
You're not. Well, not in my experience of you. You're not. You're not surly.
Not sir. I don't. I find it. Joy is not a default for me. I have to kind of actively go out and find it. Whereas I think on your side, you're far kind of more optimistic about there's going to be joy somewhere. I will find joy in something in this process. Whereas with me is that I'll kind of have to rummage around for it a bit and find it. It'll be there. There'll be some to find, but sometimes I'll have a confused, angry look on my face while I'm doing it.
That's probably less annoying for the people you live with than my angle, which is
oh, I don't know. If you had a free day with no plans, how would you spend it?
Many different ways. I don't have a lack of things I want to do. Something I've been really enjoying recently is bird watching. I never got bird watching before. I like birds. I'm a fan of all life, but I grew up with. My godfather was a warden at Blacksall for the RSPB, and every weekend were long walks, and he'd just go, "There's a tree pipit," and he'd point, and I'd be like, "Where?" And then he'd give me his binoculars with big, massive things, and I'd look, and everything would just be black. And it went on like that until about 2 months ago. And I'd go to bird hides. I love a bird hide. I think one of my favourite places. I'd sit there with my wife, and she'd be like, "There's a lapwing." And I'd be like, and she'd hand me the binoculars, and I'd just see, and it wasn't until I went to RSPB Titchwell in Norfolk, and they had some binoculars, like just sitting that you could test. Obviously, they were selling them, and there was a moment a bit like Gary Newman discovering a Moog Model D in a studio and just going, "What's that?" and it changing history. I picked these binoculars up, and they must have been perfectly set up for my skull, and I lifted them up, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I can see everything." And ever since then, I kind of get it now. So it's probably sitting in a bird hide with my wife, her telling me what the birds are and me forgetting and having to ask her every 30 seconds, "What's that one?" And she goes, "It's a lapwing." "What about that one over there?" "It's a lapwing that's further away."
It's facing in the other direction.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes the desire or the sense that you have to fill your time with something. And sometimes that something can be nothingness or stillness or quietness or just kind of letting stuff happen. And I think, those sorts of pursuits, bird watching or just getting out into nature in general, I think can be incredibly restorative because you're just taking yourself out of all the noise and all the chaos and just having stillness.
My wife's I love there's an app called Merlin which is amazing. It identifies bird sounds, and in that there's a thing called a life list, and you can keep track of all the birds you've seen. And I started to do it, and then I stopped because I thought I want bird watching to be to have no productivity. I want it to have absolutely no productivity. I want it to be something I do that doesn't have a goal, doesn't have areas for improvement. I'm into cycling, but you can always cycle more efficiently. You can always go faster or whatever. Bird watching, I want to be utterly unproductive.
Yeah, there's no room for marginal gains in bird watching. No. It's just let it happen. I found a similar thing with candle making. In that there's no real kind of end result. Obviously, you have a candle at the end of it,
candle.
But it's just the process of not being on a screen and not having any kind of end result other than just enjoying the process. But the thing that you get out of it at the end is kind of an added bonus, really. It's not really why you're there. It's just to have your brain doing something, but it's just it's very passive.
It is exactly the same thing. Actually, I mentioned cycling, or I've just started going to the gym again, or tinkering around on guitars. I've not made an album for quite a long time, and I think part of the reason is I made a lot of albums, electronic music, and I suddenly realised again that was too much of a goal. I want to enjoy just the fiddling around, the noodling about, and
like the Gary Newman with his Moog and kind of what does this do? And just the kind of the joy in the discovery of things.
the joy and the discovery of things. I think you've summarised our entire conversation. Just that.
I'll just put that out as the episode. It's just the joy and the discovery of things. So what's something that makes you lose track of time? I guess it is in the joy of discovering things is part of it.
Oh, the old classic hyperfocus. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I can remember seeing a short video of somebody, like a skit, two people in a shop in America working in a shop that's got no customers in it. And one of the guys going, "Oh, have you heard about Reddit?" And the other guy go, "No, what's that?" And he said, I don't know if I want to show it to you because you might think it's fun just to do like time to time, but it could take over your life. It's quite dangerous. He goes, "No, that can't happen." He hands him his phone, and then it does like one of those things where the guy stood still and you see night becoming day, becoming night, becoming day, and then he starts to grow a beard and like... that wasn't an answer, really, was it? I can't even remember what the question was.
It's something that makes you lose track of time, I guess, but it can be that hyperfocus is, and it can be on anything, but it can be a really powerful tool. Is that, you know, I'm going to do this.
I can hammer stuff out. If something takes my mood, I will create things that I know take other people much, much, much longer than me. But if my mind isn't in the right place, it will take me hundreds of times longer than anyone else at all. I can't schedule that. It's like scheduling creativity. I can't schedule it.
That's kind of one of the things I've learned is that if I don't feel like doing it, don't force it. Because you'll get mediocre results out of it if you're trying to force a creative solution to something, or just the need to write something, or lots of different things. And I have to kind of like, okay, I need to do that, but not now because my brain is elsewhere, and there's no point trying to drag it kicking and screaming into this space because I'm not going to be happy doing it, and the results aren't going to be anything that I'm happy with anyway.
It's one of the reasons I struggle with like standard business theory, like having a default diary. You know, on this time each week I do this, and I can't do it. Can't do it at all. I mean, other than meetings, which clearly you have to turn up to a meeting when there's a meeting. Outside of that, I've actually found a lot more freedom recently by just kind of keeping a rough to-do list. I used an app designed for ADHD called Motion with an M. And the idea with that is I rigged it up to my project management system. It's got everything I need to do. The entire company needs to do, all the team members. And it would decide when I was going to do them. And after a little while, I was like, has the people who made this ever met anyone with ADHD? Because the idea of this is when this is going to happen, like that's the polar opposite of what I want.
Yeah, I think that's just inviting rebellion rather than action. I think it is kind of it Motion. I tried for a little while and I had exactly the same response to it. Was it's very good at filling gaps in, but that's it. And I don't need gaps filling. I just need the space to be able to feel relaxed enough to do what I do really well and to forgive myself for when I don't feel like doing it. But an app can't do that. An app can kind of fill my time with stuff and kind of go, hey, look, you're being more productive because we've slotted these little tiny things into these places. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do them then. It's like I'm now going to have to go through and take them all out and feel bad about it.
It's like the Pomodoro thing of going, take a 10-minute break every... I tried that and it popped up and I'd be like, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my real mum. And I was like, no, if I'm being productive, I do not want to stop. 10 minutes will break me because I'll just be sat there like watching the clock go, come on.
I need to get back on it. Now we don't feel like doing it anymore. This is ridiculous.
So this is the reason I think a lot of people who are creative like we are probably have exceedingly strong bladders because it gets so simple that I don't want to have a wee. I know I need a wee. I don't want to have a wee.
I'm locked into this, and I don't want. I'm hugely dehydrated. I've not eaten for hours, and I really need a wee. But this thing needs to get done.
Yeah, it's a joyous thing. I mean, anyone listening to this, the hyperfocus. I think when some people talk about it, they make it sound like it's an unpleasant thing. It's not. It's probably too pleasant, if anything.
Yeah, I think it kind of if you wield it in the right way, it can be an incredibly powerful thing. I think that the danger can be with hyperfocus is where over-analysis or beating yourself up about hyperfocus and kind of going, why do I do this? Why am I being like this? Rather than leaning into it. Or kind of catastrophization that can come with hyperfocus is that you can overanalyze a situation, and your brain's kind of like, I need something to jump onto and hang on to, and I'm going to really focus on this thing because it's the only thing that I can feel I can latch onto at the moment. And it's kind of like like Venom from Spider-Man, that just kind of, this is kind of gooey horribleness that just kind of latches onto you. And that's when hyperfocus can kind of go in the wrong direction. But if you have it in the right direction, it's super, super, super powerful.
In my mind, it's intrinsically linked to anxiety and to being an anxious person, which I very much am. I have learned to you can't control anxiety, but you can learn how to live with it. And I've quite far down that path, but it makes total sense to me that if you can hyper-focus about building a website or, I don't know, anything else like that that's creative, you can also hyper-focus on fictional events that have never happened.
Yeah, or the thing that happened weeks ago that is completely irrelevant, but your brain has just decided that needs to be the thing that you focus on. And the kind of Doctor Strange 1.4 million eventualities that don't happen. You'll focus on them rather than the thing that did and that was kind of innocuous anyway.
There's the way, for anyone listening to this who's yet to start on the journey of living with anxiety, something different works for everyone. But for me, each time I found something, or a little phrase or something that helped, I wrote it down, recorded it. And I had a website called positivity.click for years that had all these on. They're still on one of my websites. If you search for Positivity Click, you'll find them. But one of my absolute favorite things that I read that comes into my mind quite a lot is a Mark Twain quote. He said, I'm an old man who has known a great deal of problems in my life, most of which never happened. Or I'm getting the words wrong, but it's something along those lines. And I was kind of think, well, yeah, your body's reaction to things that haven't happened, that is still real. You can't swipe anxiety away by going, oh yeah, my logical mind knows that's not real, because your body still makes you feel like you're going to throw up and all that stuff. But yeah, it's
you kind of experience the highs and lows of things that haven't even happened, and it's a nasty roller coaster to be on sometimes. But I think it is a case of the anxiety can and will always be there. It's just kind of whether you learn to use that nervous energy in a meaningful way, and kind of have some self-care and some understanding built around it as well. Of kind of, I'm not feeling great at the moment. I need to take some time to kind of reset and then come back to something. The urge to just kind of press on can sometimes be very, very overwhelming, but sometimes it can be something that you probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So last 4 questions, and I think we can probably kind of do these as slightly more quick fire questions. But what's the best advice you've ever been given?
Don't think too much.
And how easy do you find it sticking to that advice?
Horrendously difficult, but I'm getting better.
And it's a worthwhile thing to stick to.
It really is. It's somebody they were actually a counsellor. Not that they weren't counselling me. It was somebody I worked with who was training as a counsellor, actually. And it's true. Don't think too much. Thinking's gonna happen.
Yeah. You use that energy for the right times. What's something you're excited to learn to try in the future?
Everything. It really is. It could
it's
be
kind of a blank canvas, really.
I don't know. I could see something tomorrow, even if it's on Reddit or something, and go, do you know what? Antique coins from Peru. That's exactly what I'm going to be into now for about the next 6 months. And then something else will come along. The problem I have is I don't always like slam the door on things when I lose interest on them. So I have many things.
What's one thing that you'd like listeners to take away from this conversation?
You're important.
And what's next for
Not
you?
you, James. I mean, you are, but
yeah. That's for the listeners, not just me. And what's next for you?
I'm going to have some salmon and artichokes because I like eating nice food, and I've been working really hard recently, so I'm going to have some salmon and some artichokes for lunch.
Sounds like a nice Friday treat.
Mm.
Andrew, thank you very much for being a guest on Big Bad Beautiful Brains.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a hoot.
Okay, that's it for episode 1. Thank you for joining Andrew and I for our chat. Hope you found it useful. Next episode will be in a couple of weeks' time. Make sure you like, subscribe, whatever it is you do with your usual podcast routine. And I hope you'll be back for another episode soon. Until then, toodle pip.